Hi everyone, I'm Peter and it's great to be with you today. I'm going to start with some good news and some bad news. The good news is, who's seen me speak before here? No one? I know you have, and some of you have. Right, well the good news is that you already know that I'm a great reuser and recycler. And you'll know that because you'll have seen my old slide deck over and over and over again. Well, this time we've got a brand new slide deck. Whee! That's very exciting. The bad news is I haven't really tested it yet, and I don't know what's going to come up. So bear with me. You're my pilot audience. The other good news is I'm your last speaker of the day. Yay! The bad news is I have a tendency to go on and on, sometimes for hours. I can't help myself. The good news, I think, is that we are together again, once again brought by Opus. Thank you so much for bringing us all together. It's great to be back in this community again. I think the bad news is some stuff's happened over the last 12 months since we were last together, and it doesn't feel like we're heading in necessarily the right direction. I'm going to run through some slides and I'm going to kind of paint the picture for you. I'm going to keep it quick and pacey so we can head to dinner and drinks, which is what we're all here for after all, not to listen to me. And I'm going to maybe do a bit of dancing, maybe a bit of singing, but maybe, if you're very lucky, I'll run out of time and you won't have to deal with any of that at all. So, what's this doing up here? Well, to do my new presentation, I thought I'd give AI a go, right? I mean, that's what we're all meant to be doing these days, using AI. So I said, AI, based on everything that you know about Peter Holbrook, what do you think that I'll look like in 20 years? And this is what it came up with, which, I mean, the moustache, maybe. I was looking more for a sort of like Mario look. But this basically, I think, is frankly what I would call a gay robot. A gay robot, a handsome gay robot with a moustache, who's meant to be battling the technocrats and billionaires, supported by a mass army of social entrepreneurs and community activists. And AI could see the future. And I have to say, I'm quite happy with the way that I'm going to look in 20 years' time. Now, where's the clicker? I put it somewhere very safe. So, game up, game over, or level up. And the title of this presentation really is to try and inspire you and motivate you and give you a sense that maybe, just maybe, we have the opportunity to escape the crisis that we are facing. And we've had some great conversations today, haven't we? We've heard that small is beautiful and that we can act locally, and that's really where the energy needs to be. But I've always been very, very ambitious, and I've always felt that, yes, we need that kind of community effort, we need people to act locally, but we also need dreamers and visionaries and people with ambition to really, really try and make the difference that I think we're going to need if we're going to overcome the challenges we face. Now, like humanity.exe has stopped responding, just like an arcade game, a fatal computer flaw. We seem to have escaped common sense. Meritocracy, the idea that merit and contribution will be rewarded. We know that we're critically low on resources, and we know that empathy is in short supply. In my country right now, we have this kind of big issue around migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. And it's hard, isn't it, to think that such a wealthy nation, such a nation that's got a history of welcoming people from all around the world, can suddenly lose its empathy. And why do we lose empathy? What is it that drives us to care less about our brothers and sisters around the world? Fear. And fear is a big driver, and fear is kind of epidemic proportions right now all around the world, and we desperately need to find some empathy. We've heard of the SDGs mentioned today. We've heard of them. Do you remember the Millennium Development Goals? All these targets that we've had, all this effort over my lifetime to try and kind of turn course, because we know where we're heading, and yet nothing really yet has worked, including some of my PowerPoint slides. So, We're on the brink of reaching 1.5 degrees in terms of the Earth's temperature, and that's an 86% chance of occurring within the next 5 years. We know that we are at a point, really, where the pressure is on. And it's a lot of pressure to bear, isn't it? There's how many people in this room? 400, something like that? 450? Can we do it? Can we do it? I mean, how are you feeling? Are you feeling positive and optimistic, or are you feeling terrified by the prospect that whatever we do is not going to be enough in the face of the challenges we face? I'm feeling optimistic. Are you feeling optimistic? A little bit, perhaps, or not at all. We have to find optimism, because hope is a political act. Hope means that we believe we can. A lack of hope means we've given up. So, on the current trajectory, it may feel as if the game may be up, and that we may feel disempowered, or that we don't have enough resource, capability, unity to tackle the challenges ahead. And the generation, not my generation, I'm too old to be this generation, but the young people coming up, do they have to carry the burden of all the challenges that we currently face? Are we pushing our responsibilities onto them? Well, there are no second chances. This has to be the moment. Otherwise, what? This, to me, feels like an arcade game at times, and it feels like we are running out of credits. We have to find a way to overcome the evil boss at the end of our level. It's an epic battle, but as we know, epic battles have been won before. We've got all of these things that we've been discussing so far and been covered brilliantly by other speakers. We've got declining freedoms, we've got the rise of the autocrat. Why are always the autocrats middle-aged white men? What is it about middle-aged white men, he says, being a middle-aged white man? We've got the growing rates of autocracy right across the world. We've got this kind of shift to populism, and it's not just happening in the US, it's happening across parts of Africa, it's happening across Asia, and we have huge, huge threats to our existing civil liberties that so many people have worked so hard over many, many centuries to win for us. These are difficult times, and we know that our planetary health is critically low. The boundaries have been breached. We are losing, I think, at times, 1,000, between 100 and 1,000 times in terms of species extinction, and it's a rum-do. We have multiple challenges, and we have multiple systems failure. And this is all part of a system that we have kind of played along with for far too long. Because capitalism's current strategy was well documented even by Karl Marx over 100 years ago. It's kind of obvious. You can't extract all the resources on a finite planet and expect there to be infinite prosperity. So what do? Well, what we have to do, people are right. We have to think about our own communities and how we address the tensions, the problems, the challenges that we face there. But we also have to think big a little bit and think about the world we want to create and the architecture that we need to create if we are to reimagine the world as we would like to see it. So I'm suggesting new games and new rules. There's been a lot of conversation recently about what we can do, and I think there's a sense of despondency about the big stuff. So in the context of that, it's easy just to focus on the hyperlocal. Work within your own community, sort out your own problems, save a community building. And that's the right thing to do. Do what you can. But don't lose sight of the big challenges and what might be needed to create the sort of world that we're going to need to transition to. So in my mind, and this occurred to me actually, I don't know whether you know that I actually missed my flight yesterday. So I had to get another flight today, and I had a very, very nice Uber driver. And on that drive, we discussed my fare. My fare from my home to the airport was £98. It's quite a lot of money. It's about 60 miles. How much do you think the Uber driver was getting from that fare of £98? Any ideas? Someone must have an idea. How much? you think the driver was getting £20 out of £98. Capitalism is bad, but it's not quite that bad. He was getting £45. But he was doing the driving, he was fueling his car, he was maintaining his car, it was his car, and Uber was taking the rest. I'm thinking, what happens to that money? What happens to that money when we spend that money? It leaves my pocket, it doesn't go to the driver, it goes straight to San Francisco via a complex web of tax-efficient routes, and it's gone. That money that was in my community is no longer in my community. And when it left, it wasn't even taxed. Now that was 50 quid. Who in the room here has given more than 50 quid this week to charity? Who in this room has given more than 50 quid this week to any of the big platforms? Amazon, Uber, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Microsoft, Google, Twitter. Only one of you, 2 of you, 3 of you, 4 of you, 5. Yeah, come on, let's be honest, right? And that's the point. We can be as philanthropic as we wish to, but if we, as individuals, continue to use the very platforms whose values are absolutely opposed to our own, why should we be surprised when we see inequality spiraling through the roof? And don't just think about us as individuals, think about your organizations, right? Who runs an organization here? Who's got responsibility for running a business? Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you. Who do you depend on to run that business? What platforms are you using in your business? Are you using Salesforce's CRM? Are you using Microsoft Office? Are you using any of the text platforms out there that generate AI for you, perhaps, or Circles, the community software package? I worked out that my business, Social Enterprise UK, is probably spending somewhere in the region of £35,000 a year with these businesses. And that's partly because we don't have a choice, right? We use LinkedIn, we use all of these platforms, we buy in the service. That money is not staying within our communities. That money is going offshore. And in most cases, it's going offshore without any tax being really taken. So my view is we are actually part of the problem as well as part of the solution. And we have to think big if we're going to overcome the challenges we face. Now, I was with an American last week. Not easy work, but someone has to do it. But this American was a great American. But he kind of rubbed up people in the UK a bit kind of the wrong way. Because he was saying, I'm going to raise $300 million and I'm going to build a civil society, global, digital architecture. One that manages our crypto transactions, one that manages our data, one that is purpose-driven, mission-locked, holocratic, which means that power is dispersed throughout rather than maintained at the center. Why shouldn't civil society or social enterprise build the alternatives that we're going to need to address the growth in inequality? Because at the moment, we're all contributing to that growth, even if we try not to. Who's got Spotify? Right? We all know about Spotify, I'm guessing, in the room. Do we know that Spotify is investing in kind of AI arms currently being deployed in the Middle East? Are we cool with that? Why are we sticking with Spotify? Convenience? Ease? We can talk the talk, and we do so at conferences like this. But we have choices, and we need to be the role models, and we need to be the first movers that actually divest from the companies whose owners and their values we so disagree with, and start finding ways to build the architecture that is values aligned to us. It is no coincidence that Elon Musk's net value today is higher than it was 12 months ago. Do you remember the big kind of whoop-whoops when people were giving up their Teslas? The price dropped, we saw his stock prices drop, and everyone thought, we're going to watch Elon go bankrupt. Well, Elon's wealth today is at 480 billion. It's a big number, right? do we actually know what that number means? Got any idea of what that actually means? Who knows what a tangible difference is between 1 million and 1 billion, for example? Anyone? You know the analogy of 1 million seconds would take us back to 2023. 1 billion seconds takes us back to the middle of the Roman Empire. These sums are vast, and they are so vast that tangibly, most people don't consider the extraordinary, huge volume of wealth that 480 billion actually represents. And each month, each day, each hour, that just grows. And wealth can be created, but mostly not at the extremes of which it's being accumulated by the super rich. And we have a role to think strategically, to think smartly, not just what we can do in our communities, but what alternatives we can provide people. So take a look at it. I'm asking you to have a look at an idea from United People, comes from America, that is trying to actually build a civil society, global digital architecture, AI algorithms that aren't racist, AI algorithms that don't determine your behaviors by keeping you addicted to them. Like tech for good. It's a term that's bandied around, but it's never really emerged into the reality. But we can see that the pilots work. Ecosia has now planted 200 million trees. Signal, the messaging app, doesn't store any of your data, which means it will never be exploited. And a civil society-owned digital infrastructure would mean that it doesn't matter whether it's Elon or Bill or any of the other tech bros, they couldn't come in and buy it because it wouldn't be for sale. It would be owned by us. And through that model, we could bring the population of Europe, America, and Africa alongside, because our product would be truthful, honest, transparent. It would be working for the benefit of humanity, not against the benefit of humanity. So yes, let's do the small things in our communities. Let's make refugees welcome. Let's make our communities clean, environmental, sustainable. Let's grow food locally. But let's remember where power really sits and imagine, dream, just think about what we could achieve if we really worked together to deliver some of those ambitions. Because everything is interconnected, and it is all a bit like one of those big domino topplers. Inequality will drive more climate crisis. Climate crisis will drive more immigration. Immigration will potentially create more social division. More social division will create the degeneration of community cohesion in our home communities. These are threats that will affect us all. There we go. I told you I was going to go on and on. I've done 4 slides. I've got 47 to go, and I've got 19 seconds left. So, domino effect, game on. This is our time to both not argue whether we should be thinking small and local or big and ambitious. It's the time to do everything, everywhere, all at once. We are already reversing some of the great improvements that we have made through developmental programs, through impact investing, through the redistribution of wealth. We are beginning to see things in countries where we have seen continued improvement for 2 decades beginning to regress. The system is broken, and we need to radically imagine what the world could be like. And I think at times in history, we've been able to do that. The origination of social enterprise in my country was around the 1860s, actually. Very similar circumstance. Inequality was sky high, people were poor, cost of living crisis. The food that you could buy was full of wood dust rather than grain. The food was contaminated, and it was very expensive. And so the Rochdale pioneers in 1867 got together and built a cooperative, the world's first cooperative in Rochdale in England, which today is a £20 billion supermarket store. But those pioneers were pioneers. No one thought it was possible. No one thought that they would be able to build equivalents to the merchants that held all the power, the money, the resource. But they did. And they solved the problem and built a cooperative movement which spread and spread and spread globally. Now, other civil rights were won, and ultimately, the cooperative's role perhaps diminished. But we're at a similar time right again, and we need those big ambitions, those big ideas, alongside lots and lots and lots of local community action. Now, I came to social enterprise 25, 30 years ago. I had worked for charities like Oxfam and Greenpeace. I started my own social enterprise and realized that so many of the problems are fundamentally economic. So to do philanthropy, to do social change without tackling the economic injustice of the system just isn't going to work. And social enterprise allows us, it gives us an opportunity to do things very, very differently. It allows us to reprogram the DNA of what we build, businesses, to actually meet the needs of humanity rather than the needs of investors. It's business with a purpose. That purpose has never been more required than now. It's about bringing economic development and impact into harmony. It's mission first, always. It's not profit with a bit of purpose. It's mission first. It's people and planet first. And it's about valuing things more than just the accumulation of capital. There are some amazing things happening right around the world that I hope inspire you. Tabita is the ambulance service in Ethiopia. It's set up by my good friend Kibret, who Eleanor knows as well. We've been to visit. Their ambulance times are better than those in the UK. But here's the thing. Ecosia in Germany, 200 million trees planted, 20 million active users. Is anyone still using Google? Now's your time to switch. And Patagonia. You probably wondered why I was wearing two baseball caps. Patagonia, a £2.5, £3 billion business. Yvonne Chouard, who was the founder, turned it over, and Planet Earth is now the only shareholder in Patagonia. Its mission, its purpose, its profitability all goes to support the replenishment of Planet Earth. And we should see, and we are seeing more and more of these businesses, but we're seeing too many community cafes in my mind, and not enough tech alternatives, big businesses, scaled social enterprises competing in markets that make money. Now, you're getting hungry, I'm getting thirsty, and the good news is I'm not going to overrun tonight. The circular economy creates a $4.5 trillion opportunity for you all. This isn't a time to be scared or fearful. This is a time to actually seize the day, seize the opportunity, and appreciate that in every crisis, there is always opportunity. And green jobs, 24 million green jobs potentially coming on stream. So even if AI does take over your role, there will be an opportunity for you to go and clean the blades of a wind turbine or something else. Levelling up our economy means that we do need to find better ways to redistribute. And we see governments kind of beholden to markets. We had a budget in the UK a couple of days ago, and really, not much has changed. Because our Chancellor, if she did too much, would frighten the markets, and that could lead to divestment or higher rates of borrowing. If she does too little, she risks being kicked out at the next election. So our politicians are really hampered, they are really limited. And I think the leadership we're going to need is not necessarily going to come from our politicians, it's going to come from a new generation of community activists, many of whom I hope are in this room. So, climate change, social division, inequality, big challenges. The models that we will need are already out there. We don't need to reinvent them. We know cooperatives and social businesses do the job just fine, but we need to build them in the critical markets where profit and power are concentrated. And political reform does matter. There is a reason that we have Donald Trump in the White House, and that's because Donald Trump was paid to be in the White House by Elon Musk and others like Mark Zuckerberg and these other kind of tech, slightly weird bros. Now, what do? We have to reimagine what a modern democracy looks like. It's not just going back to where we were, it's imagining what a modern democracy looks like. And a modern democracy doesn't just have to exist in our parliaments. A modern democracy can exist in our workplaces too. This is a time to level up active participation from citizens, find ways and routes to engage people, to include people, and to be active in every opportunity that we are faced with to achieve that goal. Right, this is it. What you can do and what I can do over the next 5 years. Now, lots of things that we want to do seemed impossible when we began them, but let's at least try and make social enterprise mainstream over the next 5 years, because people don't know about it. And the amount of people that once you explain it to them, once you share it to them, they get the bug. They go on and they become change makers as well. So the one thing that you can do is become an ambassador, an advocate, talk to your family, your friends, join local groups, join protests, join demonstrations in the street. Turn everything that you do into an opportunity to do it for good. Because I'll tell you what, one thing that I've learned is when you start walking that path, money matters less. Your quality of life can improve without money alone. Your quality of life can come from enjoying the abundance of resources and opportunities, relationships, networks, and communities that we exist in. Your daily quests. Think about your spending power. Every time you spend £1 or €1 or $1, you are voting for the sort of economy that you want to live in. We have 10 years to rewrite the ending, perhaps, set the path, compounding the impact, and close the window. And I think if my gift was working, you would see that he is not happy, but terrified. It's a big challenge, but actually, don't you get excited by big challenges? I want to have coffee and tea and lunch and talk to anybody that's interested in building this kind of digital architecture built on social enterprise ideals that can potentially protect our organizations, keep our data safe, make sure that we're not perpetuating the problem rather than solving it, and to see whether that's a tangible opportunity for us to genuinely collaborate and build something of critical value. That's it from me. It's dinner time!